for today's weekly message, I thought I could talk about triggers and repair. And I think it's like probably one of the most important aspects of like communicating with others and relationships that people tend to not really want to think about or even really look at. And something that is happening when we are getting triggered is a trigger is not necessarily a bad thing. A trigger, what is happening is life is trying to get you to face a wound that happened in the past that you're still holding the wound in your body, and you are getting triggered as a way of life trying to help you clear that. And so we don't have to necessarily beat ourselves up for getting triggered, and we necessarily don't have to instantly view someone as bad just because they got a little triggered over something we said or something we did, because in truth they're just they're getting triggered to help them face something that was probably rather painful in the past, that life is just helping them move through that pain a little bit quicker, and we were helping facilitate that, the healing of that. And so when someone gets triggered, it isn't necessarily, oh, I should cut this person out and never talk to them again. Really, and really asking ourselves, can I focus more on repair? If I am building a friendship with someone or getting to know someone, and something happens where they brings up a lot of emotions for them and it's a little intense, not viewing that as the sole reason of, oh, never going to speak to this person again, but starting to become curious, what in what way did I have edge, sharpness, abrasiveness oftentimes in my communication that might have, or maybe was not communicating enough with this person, that maybe brought up this trigger for this person. And being willing to look at it, usually takes two people to tango in an argument, or even two people to tango when someone gets triggered. And there's always a lesson in it for us. And so not you, and often when we're relating to life, not from a place of repair, but from a place of, anytime someone missteps, I just let them go and stop talking to them. We're coming from a place of putting walls over our heart, and we think walls over our heart and protecting ourselves through our ideas, our judgments, our stereotypes is keeping us safe, but it's really only keeping you safe from deeper connection in your relationships, deeper levels of love and trust, which really is what takes when there's a rupture in the relationship, what takes any two people from moving back past a rupture is trust. And when we have a hard time trusting others because of how deeply we're hurt in the past, is when we tend to not want to focus on repair. And it also then it makes it really easy for us to avoid the healing we would find in repair, or avoid the healing of becoming more aware of, oh, I said that very abrasively, or I could have been a lot more gentle in how I communicated that, or could have communicated more, and if I had done that, this trigger probably would have never came up. And so being able to own our own part in things, and sure, sometimes people might be lost in unprocessed pain and constantly be getting triggered around us, or constantly negative or irritable, and when we try and have basic communication after the original trigger event, and they try and flip it on us and blame us, okay, they're showing you that they cannot handle a deeper, meaningful relationship and cut it. And that is a person that is totally okay to cut out. Or if someone was abusive or mistreated us a ton in the past, right? Not someone we need to orient towards repairs, but someone we need to go, okay, my greatest discernment would be not putting my heart around this person. And so when we're thinking about relationships, there's like two kind of pitfalls. The one is, I'm someone that seeks abuse, mistreatment, toxicity, and I settle for that because I don't think there's anyone better out there for me. And I settle for that in friendships, and I settle for that in partners. And right, the healing of that would be, okay, there are people better out there for me, but I have to stop settling for these people and spending so much time with these people that are abusive and toxic for me to actually find people who would be more loving, nurturing, and caring towards me. And even being aware of, if I have a pattern of being in abusive relationships in the past, that's going to be partly when I feel attracted to people. Oftentimes right after moving away from those relationships, I'm going to be attracted to people similar to the abusive partners I had in the past, because that is what's familiar, and what is familiar is what is attractive a lot of the time. And so recognizing if I'm feel attracted to someone and I've just moved out of an abusive relationship, I need to move incredibly slow and put aside any expectations of what this person will mean to me, and just getting to see how do they treat me, how do they treat others over an extended period of time of like a month or 2 months of seeing them fairly regularly, would help us start to see, okay, is this person someone actually healthy for me, or is this someone that is similar to my past partners? And then so that's one orientation that can be pitfalls. The other orientation is, I was hurt deeply in the past, and then as a way of avoiding the hurt in my heart, I live in my mind, and I start to associate ideas, judgments, stereotypes around how I was hurt in the past that I think keep me safe, but in truth just prevent me from trusting or connecting with others, right? And this usually gets projected on people who have the same gender or same ethnicity as the dude or the woman or whoever ended up hurting us in the past. Right? It's like the kid who gets bit by a dog and then never wants to pet another dog again, when like 99% of dogs are like the most beautiful, loving animals ever. I pet dogs all the time. I love dogs. Um, but people take that same way of relating to others as adults, and the moment anyone slips up, or they won't even give someone a chance to get to know them, and they'll say, I'm being discerning, I'm being mindful of my energy, or I feel this around this person, when it's really they're not even feeling that. They're just forming ideas that they call protection, when in truth it's them avoiding the underlying wound of how they were hurt in the past, and it's them projecting those wounds onto other people and calling it discernment, but in truth it's just reaffirming lack of trust and walls over their heart, and it's actually causing more hurt on the planet, because constantly rejecting others or constantly trying to keep space from others getting close to us makes other people not feel good about themselves. And it's subtle, and it's really, at the end of the day, they will be okay, but it's not supporting connection, unity, and vulnerability, which, if we want to see the world become better, is how we need to orient. And the way we're going to orient that is when there's little ruptures in our relationships, focusing on repair and second chances. And oftentimes we can be stuck in a perspective of, stuck in maybe an alignment of, I'm comfortable, and anytime I start to become uncomfortable because there's a little rupture, I go, this is bad, this is wrong, and I just chop that person out and never speak to them again. When in truth, it's not allowing me to learn from discomfort. And life is about balance. And in life, if we're living an aligned life and we're really facing our wounds rather than hiding from them, if we're really living in reality rather than living avoidance, there's going to be times, even in the most beautiful relationships, where there's things that will be uncomfortable. There will be times even when triggers will come up, and being willing to look at, okay, if I'm going to lean into deep relationships, I have to be willing to give people second chances, and I have to be willing to focus on what how did, like, if I triggered someone, why might they have gotten triggered? Did I, and looking at that within ourselves, and then looking at, okay, when I have a conversation with them, how do they handle it? Do they handle the basic communication of repairing this quite well and effortlessly, and are showing me that there's someone I should trust? Or are they flipping it on me and blaming me and showing me I actually need more space? And relating to people from reality, not relating to people from our ideas of reality, not relating to people of, I'm saying I'm being mindful of my energy, but I'm really just avoiding deeper conversations, and I'm really just avoiding how me ghosting someone, how me cutting someone out right just because they got a little triggered and it was not that big of a rupture. I'm really just avoiding the underlying pain of trying to hide from my discomfort. I'm avoiding the part of me that really hides from discomfort. I'm avoiding the part of me that puts up walls in front of my heart and calls that healthy. I'm avoiding the part of me that has ideas, judgments, and stereotypes of others and thinks that's a healthy way of functioning, and calling myself even someone that's, standing for well-being for others when in truth, or standing for my well-being when in truth, I'm living in fantasies. I'm living in walls from connection. And the caveat to this teaching is, if we, and I kind of already talked about it, is if we try and have focus on repair and someone's not handling the basic communication well, okay, they're not ready for a deeper relationship, probably not someone I should be spending a ton of time with. Good to know. Also, if we're continuing getting triggered together, or let's say we've been in a relationship a long time or a friendship for a long time, and we're only getting triggered more and more often with one another, that's not us going through awesome levels of growth. That's the universe saying, hey, this person's no longer in alignment with you, and triggering you. They're triggering you as the universe trying to give you a sign of it's time to move on. And also the orientation of, can we be aware of our own triggers to the best of ability, and start to see, okay, if I'm feeling intense emotion, probably not a time I meant to respond to this person. And sometimes it takes us getting it completely wrong for us to see it right. And it's why grace and second chances is like what's going to actually feed deeper, meaningful relationships in your life, because no one is perfect and no one is going to get things perfectly. And recognizing the more I can be open with people and curious of why they might be showing up, how they're showing up, the more I'm going to see people, and the more I'm actually going to know who I can let get closer to me and who is someone who's not meant to get closer to me. But if we're not even willing to do that, we are going to stay in the alignment of I'm all in my head, and I'm feeding those patterns by listening to them. I'm feeding my ideas, judgments, stereotypes, and feeding the overactivation of my mind because I'm making choices from that point. And a great way to see what kind of alignment we are in is to look at your pupils, which is like interesting, but like your left side is your feminine, your right side is your masculine. And oftentimes when one side is out of balance, our pupils won't be dilated in alignment with one another. And one will be overemphasized as over wide as a way of your body showing you this side of you is inflamed, or you're leaning too much in the feminine and not enough in the masculine. Like for me, I have a tendency to scroll on social media, and whenever I look at the mirror after scrolling on social media, my right pupil is always bigger because I was feeding a pattern of seeking and overstimulation without balancing that out with like presence and mindfulness and being aware of my actions, which would be the feminine. And so being aware of no one is perfect, no one is going to get things perfectly. And if we want greater love, unity, vulnerability, and connection in our life, we have to be willing to stand for repair. And we have to be willing to have difficult conversations with people, whether that's a difficult conversation of repair or a difficult conversation of letting someone go. And if someone isn't able to handle the basic communication we would need for repair, okay, probably not someone I meant to repair that with, but at least giving someone the opportunity of showing them who you are rather than immediately associating, oh, they got triggered, I'm never going to talk to this person again, and act like they're the Antichrist whenever I run into them at events. Because most of the people you meet are like the lovely, lovely, beautiful puppies you see walking on the street every day. And and when we can stay open to connection, when we can allow ourselves to trust even when it's a little scary, is when we will start to see, wow, the world was a lot safer than I thought it was. And wow, and in different countries too, that might be a little different, but for most countries, the world is a lot safer than what we thought because our thoughts are just ideas. They're not reality. And when we can say, okay, this is what I'm thinking about this person, but can I double check it with curiosity? And really see if they're lining up with my ideas of them, is when we start to move out of our fantasies, out of just being in our mind, and start to move into the openness, the love, and curiosity of our heart. And it's the first step of breaking down the walls of our heart and allowing greater love to flow into our life. And if we're someone who wonders why there isn't deeper relationships in our life, or why we might not have a ton of friends, it's something to at least look out. It might not be totally true for you, but there might be aspects to this of how have I been, am I open to connecting with other people? Am I even putting myself out there and asking people to hang out, maybe as friends, regularly, and allowing that, if no one is taking the first step, maybe I need to lead the way, and maybe it's me leading the way that would actually welcome in the changes in my life that I keep on praying for, asking the universe to bring to me. And also, when start to become aware of our triggers, okay, when I start to feel how I might have been triggered in the past and it's coming up again, taking deep breaths and saying, what would be a more soft and gentle way to respond to this person that I might have messed up or not have responded in the past very well, and using the feminine awareness of love to start to break down our walls, to start to help us trust deeper, and to help us lead with curiosity rather than lead with our ideas, judgments of people. And when we do that, all we will find is greater vulnerability, trust, and more beautiful relationships. So I hope that helps. Thank you for listening, and hope you have a great day. Bye.